Hi, everyone, or shall I say hi again. And some of you might be wondering, what is the point of this course? Or what's the point of really any course in cybersecurity? Well, the first thing is the reason why we study malware is to protect computers and people. Computers nowadays in 2026, computers and the person are simultaneous. They're as connected as, say, a positive and negative contact. Opposites can attract and have that electrical bond. Well, it's the same thing with computers and in people, because so much of our lives now are not only using the computer but also utilizing and being a part of the internet. Because the internet is so ubiquitous to our lifestyle, we're easily accessible to the world of malware. Now, malware can steal personal information such as PII, personally identifiable information, as well as our archives, such as passwords, photos. We have Bitcoin. We have access to. Somebody can get that. There was the Counter Strike attack when a lot of people on Steam with Steam accounts had all their stuff taken, but it goes beyond that. I mean, isn't it weird when maybe we're having a conversation with a passenger or we're on our phone and we tell them, oh, I would really love some Five Guys because I'm kind of hungry and I don't mind spending $20 for one cheeseburger. That's how hungry I am. And then on your center console or the next time you're online, you see an ad for Five Guys. It happens to me all the time. I had a hankering the other day for I was just looking for a gaming laptop. I have a gaming PC, but I was wondering if I could get a gaming laptop. Well, now on my Facebook is inundated with ads for NVIDIA, RTX NVIDIA chips for laptops, or laptops with the 4090 or 5090, or actually you're probably going to get a 5070 Ti or something in higher end laptops, or maybe even a 5080. I'm just saying that their information about the way we speak and the words that we say is out there. It's using our personal information and our conversations to correlate our conversations with products that are out there, and this is like a legitimate form of tracking us. I was almost going to say hacking. It kind of is hacking, but data is being used to track us every single day of the week. The other thing that malware can do, as not only stealing our personal information, it can damage or destroy files, it can spy on users, and it can, through malware, actually take control or pwn computers. Okay? They're like, for example, the Eternal Blue malware or script that was out there. So by studying malware, we can actually learn how attacks can happen. Number two, we can understand how hackers think. Okay, we can understand how, for example, hackers trick users through social engineering. The fact of the matter is, AES is the leading encryption standard out there, right? It is based on the Ringdoll encryption, or it is based on the Ringdoll algorithm, which ultimately decrypts whatever plain text was used to send, and then it encrypts it in transit, and then it decrypts it on the other end. Okay, so if we can understand the fact that, well, let me ask you this. Let me ask everyone the following question. Okay, how many incidences or times or events do you think the AES encryption standard was actually broken? Now, don't look it up. I want you to use your common sense, maybe, or your hypothetical mind and try to answer the question of when you think, how many times do you think the AES encryption actually has been broken? Meaning you don't have the key, or password, you just were able to break it. How many times do you think hackers were actually able to break AES? Now, AES is the strongest encryption standard that is currently out there. And in fact, it is used to protect federal government assets. So how many times, how many incidences, or how many times do you think that the AES has been broken? Think, I don't know, 2,000, 1,000, 100, 8, 4? The answer is this: zero. Zero times. Now, if you're like, wait a second, Professor or Mr. Myers, wait a second. Like, how come we're always hearing on the news everyone and their brother has gotten hacked? How come we're hearing on the news that, like, Joe Biden's, one of his, what do you call it, uh, Instagram account? Remember that whole thing where Biden's account got hacked and someone else's, somewhere else, someone else big in the government was hacked. A lot of people's information was hacked. Or do you recall that? Well, we see it, we hear it all about it all the time in the news, right? Well, what about that? I mean, why is it that everything's dual authentication? And if you log into your bank from a different computer, you have to get re-authenticated, or you have to get a phone number and a special code. Why is that? If AES has never been cracked? Because of social engineering. Okay? Things like scareware. Okay, we're going to look into that today. We're going to talk about that today. That's why we study malware. That to understand how hackers think. To understand, if we understand how social engineers think, that's what the tantamount to being a hacker is these days. If we understand how social engineers think, do you think we're going to be a little bit more prepared to deal with these real-time threats? And the answer is yes. And we get it dealt to us all the time. When's the last time you've actually had to download a print driver, right? So we've all been there. We go to, like, driveruniversity.com, or something like driver.com or something, and guess what? It is malware. All right. So we can understand how hackers think. We can respond effectively to cyber attacks, meaning what was infected, what was the scope, what data was taken, how did the attack start, and is it still spreading? And we can also see and understand the effects of what happens when, let's say, it's a doctor's office and there's 10 stations there. So some are for the doctors, some are for the admins, some are for the technicians that actually fulfill or fill prescriptions. They actually call the pharmacy for the doctor and whatnot. Okay, and they send out test results and whatnot. So if a doctor's office has 10 stations, okay, and one of them was infected, maybe they go to, something like Symantec or the antivirus software. The antivirus software detects the piece of malware that was downloaded, and it disinfects the entire computer. Does that end? Does that end the situation? Are we in the clear? Now, we, as malware experts, okay, know that that's probably not it, because the nature of malware is it gets downloaded to one PC or one station, and then it, like a wave, it spreads to everyone else on the local area network. A LAN is basically a subnet. So every other computer on that subnet, it has been probably affected, because that's within the plane of scope, is everyone on the local area network. That's the problem with the downloading of viruses or any malware. It tends to spread to every computer on the floor, for example. So the best practice is to have not only disinfect, the person's computer, the host that was infected, but all hosts on the subnet. And as a matter of fact, you might as well just disinfect every computer in the building, just to be safe. Because the number one thing that you have to worry about with malware is liability, legal issues. Because if you're dealing with PII and you're dealing with a doctor's office, you have to worry about, medical information, which is highly sensitive. Okay, not only that, but people are paying with their credit cards. There's family histories there. So you don't want to be in a situation where if personal information was leaked and then a horrible person like a syndicate, a malevolent syndicate, use that information to open up bank accounts, credit cards, and then suddenly you look bad as well. You could potentially be on the hook for millions of dollars. All right. To prevent future attacks, the idea is it helps you to understand how to patch vulnerabilities, improve system design, and then of course train users to the simple act of avoiding scams. Okay, one of the many scams that is out there is posing to be a legitimate site, asking you to add your personal data, like let's say you get an email that says, hey, this is Facebook, your account has been hijacked or somehow made vulnerable. To verify, give us your username and password. Okay, and let's say you do that because you're not as savvy as a cybersecurity student. And as I said, let's say you do that, and then all of a sudden you've given the wrong person your information because you thought it was a legitimate site, but all they did was they cloned the website of the legitimate site and made it look just like that site, such as eBay. And then all of a sudden, some 20-year-old down in his mother's basement has your information. Okay, that could be seen as what they call DNS spoofing, because it's made to look like eBay or Facebook or something like that, but it isn't. Okay, so that, as I said, that it might be called the domain name spoofing. Um, and of course, it is so part of cybersecurity. A lot of it is people training. Okay, so believe it or not, cybersecurity experts say you don't need fancy firewalls. You don't need all this endless training. Really, it comes down to two things. If you disallow people to stick their USBs into anyone's PC without it being disinfected, okay, and if you train your workers or your operators or your office personnel to not download, if you actually prevent them from downloading any attachments, email attachments, you've just released yourself from like 99% of all possibilities of being infected by malware, believe it or not. Now, how do you do that? Is making the proper decisions from the top down. So it's almost a management thing too. A lot of people, to combat this, will have like a global platform for everyone's laptop, and so everyone uses the same apps, and these apps are tested, and nobody has personal rights to add anything to their work laptop that enables them to go home, and your kid can put on, like, for example, LimeWire or something like that could potentially wreck the or add to the risk surface of your laptop, of your machine, of your corporate asset. And the problem is you can't do anything either. All you can do is use the current applications and the current versions. So it's kind of, if you have OCD and you see a pop up that asks you to, you know, upgrade your current Java, for example, because the one you have is an older one, you want to do it right. But if you're OCD and you want to go ahead and do it, your global platform says, "Whoa, you're not allowed to upgrade any existing application without authorization from somebody." So, I mean, it's to your benefit to do that. So, anyways, training and providing awareness is 99% of your battle right there. And as they say, prevention is cheaper and safer than cleanup, especially when you if you're a software engineer, preventing defects is key to not having warranty work ahead of time. So there is a big difference between a defect in house that is found in house versus a customer saying, "Oh, just so you know, your software had a huge glitch and it cost my company $500,000. Pay up or something." That would be awful. So best to prevent. It is infinitely cheaper to prevent. Now, the one aspect of why we study malware is because, if you get a job in cybersecurity, hopefully, because of the nature of malware, you're pretty safe because the malware itself is always changing. Okay. This is because hackers constantly adjust their code. So it is kind of like a cat and mouse game. It's everything. For example, back in the day when everyone was using DVDs, like, do you remember the most people think of Netflix as just, hey, you log in and you have access to like 80,000 shows, right? You just pick the one you want. But the Netflix I remember is actually you used to get discs, and you would watch the discs and DVDs, and then you put the DVD back in the pouch, and then you mail it, right? And then everyone would try to copy the DVDs. The cat and mouse game was the DVDs would be fed into your PC, and then you would have a program that actually ripped the DVD. And I think I recall Nero CD Ripper was a big one. So it would rip, but then all of a sudden the DVD companies got smart and they would put code on the new DVDs that prevent you to do it, and then the DVD burning ripping software, they would come out with a patch that overrid that, and then the DVD manufacturing companies would say, "Okay, well, we have this new code," and that's what I mean. It was like a cat and mouse game. Okay, so it's the same thing now that malware, the people that make the malware will always change their code. They invent new attack methods and they evade security tools. So the bottom line is that the cyber attacks are real. There's a certain understanding and training of your employees that could aid in protection. Also, the knowledge beats fear every single solitary time. And if you want to really defend your corporate asset, you have to think like a hacker. So, knowing and understanding malware allows you to think like a hacker.